What's up, y'all? It's Lone Wolf. So today, out here looking good, out here in the wilderness again, getting closer to that vacation, baby. So I decided to bring one last video. This is the end of season 3, season 4 interlude. There are 2 videos that are before this that are out of order that I decided to post them. So they were from earlier or late in season 3. I found them on my computer, so if it looks out of order, it is. Just slightly. So today I spent my day, well, I was up spiritual warfare last night, so I've been, here we go again, round and round. But today I finished a big portion of Footprints Volume 3, The Apple. So Volume 3, The Apple, is a very small book. It is not very big. It is probably going to be like $4 or $5 on Amazon, and I decided to lay it down as a short read, as a complement to my podcast, where they kind of interlace with each other. Okay, and well, it's kind of one of those things where I wanted to have a short read, something that somebody can soak up and learn something from, but can turn around and apply it to their lives in a simple yet effective document. Okay, Footprints Volume 1 and 2 is more of an in-depth book, or in-depth books. And the reason why I have not done very much podcasting on those is because I'm going to be turning those into lecture videos. So Footprints Volume 2, Chapter 1 lecture video, Chapter 2 lecture video, Chapter 3 lecture video, and Chapter 4 lecture video, as well as Footprints Volume 1. So I decided to leave those, the fundamentals of my ministry, those 2 books, as lecture videos. And well, what do I need there? I want to do them in a systematic way, where I'm not out in the wilderness or in my car or anything like that preaching. I wanted to do it in a mix of ways. I wanted to do it more organized, to where kind of a mix between how Jordan Peterson did some of his lectures, but also how Mark the Messenger did some of his lectures. Mark the Messenger had a whiteboard, okay, which is really important, and it sticks in people's minds a little bit better. I'm not saying I'm going to preach in front of a classroom. That's probably not how it's going to go. But a more organized way of doing it, so that I'm not flipping through a book and randomly touching on this and that. That it's laid out in front of me, and it can be the most successful foundation I could possibly throw. Okay. Well, I decided it was important to do it that way. Okay. It was extremely important that I thought this one out. Okay, it's because it's so vast, but the fundamentals of my ministry is betrayal is one. Okay, Ecclesiastes, Proverbs, Genesis, and Revelation. So Footprints Volume 4 is going to be a Revelation book. Okay, and I decided I was going to do a Matthew book. I have a dating book. I have all this stuff out there, but I'm like, well, I'm probably going to do a Revelation book. Why? Because I'm going to tie Genesis to Revelation, but I think that tying Genesis to Revelation to Matthew, Luke, Mark, John is going to be an effective means of doing this. Okay, I will have, throughout my life, I will have tons of Footprints books. Volume 7,566. Who knows? I mean, I might write thousands of these things, but a lot of it is I wanted to have something so solid that was a beginning to end to Jesus' testimony. Not to Jesus, I mean like beginning as in Genesis, Revelation, to the end of New Testament, and latching into Jesus' testimony. That does not mean I am going to neglect Exodus, or I'm going to neglect books like Nehemiah. There will be books on them, but I wanted this to hit home on a fundamental triangle effect. Okay, why? It felt like as though these books spoke to me in a way that were a big awakening that can facilitate a big awakening for other people. Okay, so I do believe that how other people are preaching, such as Everyday Life Church, such as Mark the Messenger, that they do it in such an important punch that there's a bullseye effect that's being covered in our generation, okay? There's a bullseye effect. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to complement that bullseye as a collective. I think that's what we're all seeking to do. Maybe subconsciously too, that we're just working through the light and God is working through us. But volume 3 of the apple, I went over a lot of it yesterday, and I went over a lot of what the apple represents, how it can manifest in your life, how it presents differently between genders, how it can be presented to you. Oh, where am I going here? The turtle trail. Let's take the long way, baby. We're going this way. But how it can present to you. It can present to you based upon the seeds in your mind. So it presents to you based upon seeds of lust, seeds of greed, seeds of fear too. And that's an odd one, that an apple is presented through a seed of fear, because it may be that the apple's presented to you in a path that seems like it's less dangerous, but you don't have faith in God enough, where you lack faith. So if an apple is presented to you in the form that pulls off of your seed, your seed of fear, it is generally driven off of a test of your faith and a temptation to go the other way. Okay, I think I just found another fishing spot. Hold on. Yes, sir, I did. Oh, it might be the same one. It is. It's just a different way up. Never mind. Same fishing spot. So I've been sitting here going, when am I going to get paid? When am I going to get a vacation? When is this going to happen? This and this and that. Okay, I've actively made the decision this morning, after writing the majority of volume 3 of the apple, that I wanted to voluntarily take vacation. I'm going to voluntarily let this situation here crash, because, well, I went up underneath the curse, and, well, I kind of had no choice. God sent me here. But went underneath the curse of the land, lifted and broke it. And, well, they have to go through revelation, and there's certain lessons I still have to learn, sure, but God has kind of taken me through these 3 books. Well, Matthew, Luke, Mark, and John is, I see it as it's a testimony. So the testimony of Jesus resurrection, but Genesis and Revelation. Okay, so I've gone through all of that, and I've got this triangle of understanding, and I filled gaps of that in between by reading books like Hebrews and pretty much all of them except for some. Okay, there's some books that I have not read yet that I even read the book of Enoch, and I kind of stayed quiet on that one, but I will have a couple ministry videos on that about what I think about it. But and maybe I'm off, maybe I'm not. It's not in the biblical canon, but it'll be there way after I'm kind of tying things together. I'll probably just touch Enoch in a book and do episodes on it. Okay, but I have actively made the decision to take vacation. Vacation, baby. Well, what's that mean? Okay, well, I haven't been paid, so to be honest, money in my hands right now, $15, $15. Yeah, I just paid car insurance, so run around, make my money. There's no work here, so the work that was here when I was running automotive was heavy for me the first year and a half, and it just died, bro. Like, they sent a mechanic here that was associated with the people of a curse. I got bad mouth. I got treated like crap. I had my name slandered, so I'm like, well, okay, you know, if a town doesn't accept you, then you leave. And I never did anything wrong to them. I just fixed their car on my way. And some people called me back for really petty things that they didn't want to pay for. They kind of people took advantage of my kindness a little bit here. But I was more of interested in working for God than looking for a dishonest gain of overcharging people. So there's people that advised against that too. It was like, you need to upcharge parts and this and that. Get out of here. So I still be working on cars. I got a head gasket to do on the old Jeep on Sarge, so that'll be coming, but other channel. But ending season 3, season 4 interlude. Okay, I just talked about Revelations last night with the bowls of anger. Okay, so I touched on Revelations in season 3 quite a bit, but I believe that I'm going to have seasons where there will be random things that come to me, okay? And they may be season interlude videos because I want to start focusing my seasons on, well, a particular book, okay? So say I'm going to do a particular book on the book of Acts, okay? That I'll read through it, and then we'll take key things that I want to talk about, okay? The books will coincide and interlace with it. If you follow me on YouTube, I have one follower, and that follower is LW Automotive. I have my own follower right now, so I'm not really worried about that. It'll come. If people want to listen, that's great. If you don't, I'm not really worried about it either, okay? This is a nice little viewpoint. Sheesh, bro. I don't see no fish in there, bro, but I heard there's bull trout, bullhead. There's catfish, there's brown trout, salmon, and steelhead. So hopefully I get a chance to fish this before I go. Where am I going, okay? Some people may ask, where am I going? My thought is I'm going to go to the woods and camp and go to the beach for the day, okay? So I want to do coastal stuff. But my time here has kind of come to a halt where my mission seems to be complete, okay? Because there's nothing else that's being brought my way. So I'm going to keep doing the ministry. So everybody's like, well, you're doing ministry on vacation. Oh, yeah. Well, why? Well, why not? I'm constantly in the Word. I have one life here. So even though it may go into 90 years old or however old I get, I still don't want to take that time for granted. Okay? So this is the end of here. Shelter apartment. I'm gonna see what's over here. This looks forbidden. I'm gonna walk over here and see what's going on. So, what can I tell you guys about my interlude? Now, interlude, I didn't really know. I didn't want to start season 4 because I wanted to start season 4 when I was out in the wilderness and doing my thing. Well, it's kind of an interlude. I'm in a nature park, which is weird. So, well, straight to the woods. One of them I'll probably do a video on making your own bow and arrow. So I've got some experience in that with some of the native ways. So there will be a lot of biblical talks out there, but I will teach a lot of things that are boundary stone driven that people might be able to relate to, okay, when it comes to boundary stone driven. So some of the native ways and how they thought before Jesus' testimony ever touched the land, okay? So ancient boundary stone stuff. Well, ain't much of a fishing spot unless you're willing to nose dive to the bottom. Sure is a way down, but so boundary stone driven, what I mean is well, you'll see. Understanding animals, healing animals, understanding human behavior and colors, which some may be like, well, that's a cult. Not particularly, okay? In certain places you will see that it doesn't matter what color somebody's in when it comes to energy. You can see somebody that's in a blue energy or a red energy or a yellow energy, and it doesn't matter, okay? But for relationships, for dating, for things like that, there's important little things that you should know. And well, I ain't no out here doing dating advice, but I'm going to, okay? Well, what am I dating? Pretty much nobody, so so, well, it's dating advice for people who get locked into situations that they want to get out of. When you have somebody that's in green energy all the time, how can you shift yourself to facilitate something that's a lot more meaningfully driven? Maybe it's also how people can get their spark back, okay? Why do I see that as important? Well, there's going to be stuff like, I'm going to go over the book of Ruth. I've already started, right? That's what my dating book is actually prominently surrounding, is the book of Ruth. Why online dating isn't a very good idea. Why you should probably focus on the Word of God. And you can tell if somebody's a Ruth or a Jezebel or whatever they may be, which side they're playing for, okay? It's pretty out here. So, what does that mean? Okay, well, this is Wolfie Boy's first little interlude out to the woods, okay? And I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. I just turned 37 years old. I don't look it. Some people be like, you look 25 years old, you look this and that. So I bared a curse for a long time. So I look younger than I am, okay? That's something people are going to be like, there's no way you're 37. I look younger than I am, okay? And a lot of the reason why is because I was preserved for a reason. I wasn't out partying and drinking and doing drugs and doing this and that. I smoked cigars a bit, cigarettes when I was younger, dumb stuff, okay? But God preserved me for a reason, okay? People may be like, what do you mean that you bared a curse? Well, people set things over me as secrets and things that they had done and sealed it by attacking me as a child in front of a dark altar, which is very confusing, okay? It's very confusing. I'm not going to go into it. I'll just let you know that I bared a curse for a long time, and I opened it. I took everything off of me and broke all of them. There was 500 of them total, okay? Roughly. That may be including what was casted at me in the town, and that I broke in the town that wasn't over me, but it was connected to it. So it was a domino effect that happened, okay? And I don't know why. I'm just so sure that I'm going on vacation, but I'm pretty much sure that I'm leaving. So I don't know why, but I just have a feeling that this is my last video of season 3, season 4 interlude, okay? So season 4, we're going to start with wilderness, okay? We're going to start with grounding, okay? I am currently preparing for those first 8 lectures that will cover my first 2 books. And I'm going to be honest with you, that is not easy. There's like the preparation that goes into it that I can see, like Mark the Messenger does. There's a lot of preparation that he puts into his talks, okay? And a lot that he has to, connect dots and really preach to people. I look up to that dude a lot because I think he's really cool, to be honest. He's just super positive dude, vibrates very high. I seem to vibe with his message and his channel a lot, okay? So for me, I also see a few things that I need to teach people about the world. Well, what does that mean, okay? Well, understanding the Bible, understanding Spirit, understanding God is important. Understanding the way that the dark works against you is important as well, okay? It's sort of more of wisdom versus a divine knowledge, okay? That's how I would explain it. But here we are, out here enjoying nature. And one thing I will also be doing is teaching people what is edible and what is not. People be like, well, if you just came out of a Jeep, bro, how you know what's edible and what's not? There is native tribes all the way from Oklahoma to Oregon to here to there that would be able to recognize something that is edible. I'm talking about ancestry, okay? Certain things like blue camas, okay? Certain things that the Kalapuya would easily identify, okay? So things also, I mean, when it comes to native language, I'm not going to really be going over much of that, okay? But I'm going to take a vacation to teach people a little bit about the world. And I'm not so much talking about, like, well, it's kind of how divine knowledge from your ancestral roots would correlate with what you see in the Matrix. Good way to explain it. This is also already online, how to build a shelter, okay? So even though I will hopefully have a tent on top of my Jeep, I will also be building a shelter to teach people how to survive, okay? Why? Well, there's probably going to be a collapse that's going to come, okay? And a lot of people may need these certain types of tips and tricks. Why? Well, they may be forced out of their homes and into their cars out in the woods. And that might be how life is for a little bit. I don't know. But and it's for me too. Maybe I enjoy it a little more. Fishing, building shelter, living more primitive. If you are wise and you have the Word of God in you, in your mind, in your heart, and you ground into your ancestral roots, you start to develop yourself in ways that God would not tell you not to. You ground deeper into yourself and then into the Word of God, and you integrate something that is divine and ancestral, okay? And I see that as important, okay? Why? Well, you can be extremely wise, okay? And you can understand you're protected when you're wise. But you can also teach people other things if you have knowledge of the world. Knowledge of it, but you don't seek to be a part of it, okay? So being a part of the world really is not, dude, you don't want to be a part of the world, especially nowadays. It's pretty screwed up. But you'll see in season 4, things will be a lot like this, more campsite driven. Really hoping for a dog, but I don't think that's going to come my way. So I think I'm going to just be out there, and that's how it is. So camping, living more primitive for a season, and I mean the whole season. So I mean, if I'm not in the woods, I'm probably going to be at the beach, or I might even be at a restaurant. Might even be somewhere eating some clam chowder, bro, and just enjoying myself. So when it comes down to it, you have to kind of look at it and go, okay, so what I've covered in season 1, 2, and 3 has been very broad. It has been very, whoa, like it's targeted, but it's all over the place, and it's not completely coincided with the foundation of my ministry. Well, why did I do that? I don't really know. I didn't really know what I was doing when I first started. All God told me to do was step after step and just walk. And he led me to Genesis. Why? Well, it's the first book of the Bible. Understand creation, understand stories and archetypes of humanity, understand the curses of man and woman and snake, also the stick and the snake, understand certain situations like Joseph and how you should act in certain situations in the face of betrayal, which he also refused an apple, by the way, which was Potiphar's wife. So Genesis was very important to me. It was a very, very, very important book, okay? So that's why Footprints 2 revolved around it. I had not finished that triangle yet because I have not done a book on Matthew, Luke, John, Mark. That's going to be one that's like, wow, whoa. It's so vast and divine that how can I really tie that one together? Because that is a big bulk of the New Testament that you're like, wow, whoa, that's a lot, okay? So it will be a lot. It may be that it takes me time to finish that book. For now, it's on creation, Genesis, and betrayal. And betrayal within the Bible is very scattered, far and few. Well, you see a lot of it. Look at Saul and David. That was a big one. So you see a lot of it. And you see oddball stories where you have like Samson and Delilah. You know, okay, well that fits into a whole nother perimeter of teachings. But what I'm seeking to do now is get myself grounded in nature after being thrown into this and going through so much spiritual combat. When you go through isolation and you go through spiritual combat and people are going through revelation, well, and you are too, you're not leaving and abandoning your post. You are grounding in the light, and you may be in combat while you're out there. Well, that's life, okay? I'm okay with that too. Still in combat, on vacation. Not really a vacation, it's just me getting grounded, okay? Which is important to me. I think it's important to God too, because so much pressure on somebody, it can make you a ruby or a diamond. But there's a certain point where you're gonna need space, okay? I just saw a snake up in here, bro. Where you at? Let's pull him up and get rid of him. Get out of here, bro. I'll chuck you like 6 feet. I heard him. But when we see season 3, and this may be something that people reflect on like 10 years later, dude, that nobody finds my channel for years, and that's okay. This is more of a rambling video about what's to come, what I'm going to do, what happened behind me, and what's going to happen in front of me, okay? There are details to the curse that I was under and lifted, okay? there are details to the curse that I was under here and that I lifted. There are videos, there are books, but I have not released them, okay? They are simply written. But I'm not going to speak on them now. It is its own, probably, folder of things to teach people things that if you are in a cursed town, what you should do. You should probably leave. If you are anointed to do it, well, then that's your mission, okay? Don't go picking up town curses or picking up curses unless God's instructed you to do it, okay? Well, season 4, this is kind of where I belong, okay? So a lot of people may look at like my channels and go, well, you underneath cars, you're doing this, and well, cooking food on TikTok and this and that. And it's like, well, this is really where I belong. I'd like to cook food out here. Well, I mean, not out here. I mean, not in the middle of the walkway, but I'd like to cook food outdoors. I'd like to live a lot lower, okay? Out of society. Off-grid, well, you could say that. I just enjoy being away, okay? I need breaks. Every minister, I believe, needs breaks, okay? But you don't abandon your post. What's that mean? Well, while you're out there and you're gaining a more primitive lens, you're still bearing your cross, which means you're still reflecting on what you've been through. You're still preaching, you're still following, you're still reading. So just because you're on vacation doesn't mean you're taking a break from the Word of God. You're always in it. That's your life. Well, and it's the life-giving tree. You get good apples from that. What's that mean? Well, bad apples are temptations, but good apples can be akin to passing a test. Well, and how do you do that? Well, instead of taking the apple, you went to the Word of God and found an answer, and you fled from it, okay? So there's answers to things that people don't do. I think that ministers, what they generally will do is they'll set down everything, and I'm taking a break from everything. Is that akin to abandoning your post? I do believe so. I do believe there are lessons that you can learn if you do not abandon your post. And your post isn't necessarily always where you're at. It's where you're at in the book. So are you still in the Word? If you're still in the Word, you didn't abandon your post, okay? That's how I see it. But this will probably be my last video for season 3, season 4 interlude. It may be my only interlude video, like interlude chapter. I don't know. But I can tell you that the Apple is going to be available, Volume 3, Footprints Volume 3 is going to be available on Amazon, probably $4.99. I'm probably just going to 50 cents off of it. It's not very long, okay? It's not very long at all. But there will be other small books. One of those will probably be like Nehemiah. One might be about hedges. It may be that they're all small books that tie into bigger ones and everything's interlaced, but it's interlaced with the Word of God for a reason. It's testimony, okay? So when people are like, okay, I've got my testimony, it's like, well, your testimony keeps going. You're not done. You are not finished. Just because you went through something doesn't mean that your testimony is over. Your testimony continues. You continue to do God's will. You don't accept that what you did was God's will and sit down and kick back with Fritos. That isn't how life goes, okay? So for me, being in this town was probably one of the darker places I've been in my life, okay? The things I saw, things I went through, the curses that I lifted and broke. And I didn't have a choice. Well, because it seemed like revelation was something for me that was like, the people who have done this to you in your testimony, you either convert or you die. And in your perspective of it, you either fight the good fight and carry on God's will, or you abandon your post. You don't abandon your post. And it could be that after vacation I'm right back here dealing with the same stuff. Like, why? Okay, why is this something that's been drawn to me in my spirit to do? To leave and then come back. God has kind of shown me what is going to happen to people who have done terrible things here, okay? But It's almost like he showed me this, and this 5, 20, 100, 20,000 different things, okay? And then I have to walk away and get clarity and come back and keep fighting the good fight. Well, and then I probably have to go somewhere else, okay? So everything that was over me, that was cursed over me since I was a child, is all interlaced and interlocked. So that's kind of my job. Everything being interlaced and interlocked is kind of my job to get rid of it, okay? Well, and it's not really something that I have control over. God's using me as his tool to here, and here. I'm a pillar in the light, okay? My testimony is. My testimony carries on. So there's been a lot that's happened to me over my life that has to get undone. Volume 3 is extremely important. It is a smaller book that people can pick up, that can motivate them to pick up the foundation and fundamentals. So slamming a foundation down and expecting that people are going to read it, well, that's not the end. My testimony keeps going. I keep on preaching and keep on learning. I keep on fine-tuning and combing myself to reach the best part of me that is still in there. And every next step is a better part. So the apple, though it is a small book, though the apple is a small book and just a hour-long podcast, was extremely important. And people may look at that and be like, well, it's not very long. Well, if you can read it and then read the Word of God, you'll understand it's important to all of us. Important to all of us. It's such a small book, but such an important archetype to understand. Because whether the fact that you consume the apple or that you flee from it will affect your day tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day, and you grow in spirit the more you can recognize it, okay? So understanding the apple may be a fundamental that people may pick up their cross, but they need to understand certain things like the stick and the snake and the apple. They need to understand why things are meaningful and meaningless at the same time, how you can be wise and foolish at the same time. But I believe that for some reason people will start at the apple, because people out in the dark can fundamentally understand that on a very simple level, where you're not jumping from book to book all over the Bible trying to find how this connects here to here. You can start at the introduction fundamentals of why the apple happened, okay? Why it happened, because people are confusing out here. Some people say it was a psychedelic apple that woke everybody up. Some people just, it was set the stage for disobedience. Well, it did. But it not only set the stage for disobedience for humanity to grow and learn wisdom, it set the fundamentals for our daily lives now on how spiritual warfare happens, but also understanding your enemy and understanding how the world works around you, okay? That there are apples that are presented to you everywhere. I can tell you about anything that is an addictive quality or gives you a major oxytocin hit, or something that pulls at a sexual seed like lust, is generally an apple, okay? So until next time, we're going to start season 4 out in the woods, dog. Peace.